I'm going to be talking about Lee Cockerell and his book Creating Magic 10 Common Sense Leadership Strategies from a Life at Disney. Some background on Lee. He spent 17 years working for the Marriott Hotels. For years before that, he worked in the various locations for the Hilton Hotels. Finally, in 1990, he joined the Disney family. When he was called to work for Disney in 1990, it was to help open Disneyland Paris. And the success of that particular resort was not what they expected it to be. In his book, he kind of speaks about how he called it the summer from Hades because just no customers were coming out. The food was not up to par. And so he had to go through various different ways to get the top gourmet chefs to come and work for him for Disneyland Paris. Just through various different ways of kind of persuasion and speaking to various people. Now he's a dedicated public speaker and he's authoring leadership books and on how to have perfect customer service and such. He also created workshops to help consult organizations around the world. Now to transfer into the magical world of Disney. Creating Magic, why the book was written. Something very unique that I found is that he actually specifically said why he decided to write the book. A quote from him on page 16 is, "The purpose of this book is to offer leaders and potential leaders the same powerful strategies that have worked magic at Disney World and for clients of the Disney Institute." So from just that quote, I believe that the reason the book was written was because Cockerell wanted to give an inside idea of leadership to those who believed it was just something that you inherited, which we've learned in the past from this class, and also I've learned in this book that that's not the case at all. You learn leadership, you're not born with it. It's not inherited. It's something that can be molded through mentors and learning and going to workshops and seminars and such. So that's who I believe that the book is intended for. I believe it's intended for anyone who is a professional who wants to increase their leadership skills. I believe that Cockerell wrote the book for just people who want to have a status of a leader, who think that they have the potential for it, and someone that can better the workplace and can be helpful to everyone. What the book is about. The book is kind of laid out in a linear path. He has 10 strategies, obviously, from the title of the book. And that's basically the core of the book as he goes through the strategies and he gives you different kinds of examples, mostly from his experiences at Disney, some from his experiences with the Marriott and Hilton. It's mostly just through the hospitality business, customer service, that entails in that, and food service and such like that. The 10 strategies that are listed are: remember everyone is important, break the mold, make your people your brand, creating magic through training, eliminate hassles, learn the truth, burn the free fuel, stay ahead of the pack, be careful of what you say and do, and develop character. So the synopsis of the book is it is basically how to become a better leader. The reason he sets out these strategies is to help someone create a better leader for themselves, if that makes sense. Creating a better leader in yourself is a better way, I guess I could put it. With just kind of a few adjustments to your communication skills. Lee speaks about how he did not have very good communication skills, and he actually had a beer bottle broken in his face, and he said that probably should have been his last resort of knowing that he wasn't communicating very properly, but it wasn't. He also learned that he created a reputation for himself as being kind of a hard manager. So when a lower manager found out he was coming, he actually fainted and had to go to the hospital. And Cockerell explains how that was probably the lowest point in his career. I am going to present the information as it's presented in the book, very linear, going through the strategies and kind of picking and choosing which I thought were the best strategies that he gave, or a combination of the two, or just kind of a brief summary. Book references how communication skills are important and how the bottom line of everything, one needs to be a good person. Anyone needs to be a good person. He specifies that very particularly about how you need to treat everyone with the utmost respect. It does not matter if it's a busboy or the CEO of the company. Everyone needs to be treated the same. So strategies 1 and 2. Strategy 1 is everyone is important. You need to believe that everyone in your team is important and deserves respect. As I stated earlier, it doesn't matter if you're the busboy or the owner of a franchise or the CEO. Everyone should be treated the same. Everyone should be treated as a great person. Everyone should be treated as an individual, and you shouldn't just classify them by the stereotype or classify them by their position. You also need to know your team really well. If you're going to be working with these people, you need to know their history, where they come from, if they went to school, where they went to school, and things like that. He also says you don't want to be a micromanager. You want to let your team have some sort of freedom, but still are on task and still trying to get the job done. Strategy number 2 is break the mold. You need to be clear with everyone's responsibilities. He specifies that if you're not really sure what that person's job is anymore, or if you think that job is kind of useless and you're just trying to, I guess you could say, show the responsibilities as something less important or more important than what they really are, that's not a good thing. You need to be very clear with it. You also don't want to overwork anything. You try to make as minimal of work as you can, especially for a large organization. You don't want to be worrying about the scent of the hand soap if it's not really that necessary, if you don't think that your customers are going to be worrying about that. So, and he specifies that you don't want to try to win every battle. You need to pick and choose your battles. There's certain things that just don't need to be fought over. There's certain things that you just need to, I guess you could say, take it on the chin, and it may not be your way, but it may be the best for the company. Excuse me. Strategy 3 and 4. Strategy 3 is make your people your brand. You need to find the best candidate for the job. You need to hire the best person for the job, not the best person available. You need to be able to look in different places to find the right person for a job. The way he kind of mentioned that was, if you're hiring someone for a managerial experience, you could look at, basically anyone. They didn't have to go to school for business and things like that. So just kind of keep your eyes open to find the best person for the job. You also need to be selective when it comes to the candidate. Strategy 4, creating magic through training. You need to be more than just a boss for these people, is what he kind of said. He's like, you need to be a parent, a teacher, a coach, someone that they can rely on. You have to be able to teach them great service for people. And you need to also be communicating constantly with these people. You need to give them feedback, and you need to do it effectively and not just try to, pull them down and give them the negatives. You want to be able to show them that they did a good job and recognize it. You want to eliminate your hassles, which is strategy 5. Constantly be checking with your employees. He said that is crucial, to see what you can make better. He makes a reference earlier in the book about how they took away sewing kits in the hotel rooms at one of the Disney resorts, and just to save money. And he said that the customers actually got really upset about that. That were going to the resorts, you would use them as souvenirs, and so he didn't check in with his housekeepers, who know the best and know that they actually don't. They have to put those in rooms constantly because people like to take them. So he said that you need to check with your employees to see what's working and what's not. Your employees know your company probably sometimes better than you do, so you need to check with them. And Cockerell explains how his job was basically listening to the customers and finding out what they liked. You need to look into the future of your company to see if there's a change that you can make that will improve it for the future. Strategy number 6 is learn the truth. The only way that you can learn the truth is being active with your employees. Walk around the facilities. He mentions how Walt Disney would walk around and get to know his employees and things like that, and he thinks that's probably why Disney was such a famous person, and he was kind and things like that. You need to create small groups to learn the truth about the company from your employees. Like I said earlier, the employees are the backbone of the company. They know it better than anyone. The only way that your employees will trust you is if they feel safe. And if you answer the tough questions that your employees ask, they will trust you and they will feel safe to be able to tell you what's really going on. Strategy 7 and 8, you need to burn the free fuel. That is basically saying that you need to know your employees. You need to know personal facts about them. Know them personally by name. Know their families, what's going on with their families. If one of their children is going to college and what's happening, we know what they're doing. Obviously, it's going to be hard. I know for myself, I found that as a difficult strategy because I'm horrible with names. I'm great with faces, but I'm horrible with names. I can't always put the two together. So he just recommends that you really try hard and, try to find your own little niche. Uh, you also need to catch your employees doing something right and make it public. Disney has this great thing where they make a big deal for awards and they, broadcast it at their annual holiday celebration. Strategy number 8 is you need to stay ahead of the pack. You need to be knowledgeable about the things in your area. You need to be a sponge of knowledge and, just take everything in and, try to learn as much as you can. You also need to be knowledgeable about your competitors. If they're doing something better, you need to see if that you can adapt that. Not necessarily steal it, but create it your own. You need to be able to know your customers well. You need to know their wishes, what they like, what they didn't like, things like that, to see if you need to keep it consistent or if they have any kind of recommendations, then maybe you can put that into place. Strategy 9 and 10. Strategy 9 is be careful of what you say and do. Cockerell made it a point to say that you're always on duty, basically. You can't be a part-time employee. You always have to be a full-time employee. You need to do what's necessary to get the job done. You have to set high standards for yourself and be positive. Have a positive attitude about your job. People are always watching you, and he speaks about how you never know if an executive is going to come down, and people are going to be watching you in your area and what's going on, and if you're doing a good thing. And so he also states that you don't want to lose your sense of humor. As long as the work gets done, a little humor isn't going to hurt anything, and it'll actually make a better workplace for everyone. And this can help with staying humble. You don't want to get too big for your britches. You want to be able to relate to your employees. And he speaks about how he moved his office, I believe when he was working in the Marriott, one of the Marriott hotels that he was working for, he moved his office from the 4th floor down to where he would walk into the lobby. He just stay closer to his employees so he would know things. And I believe that it also kind of says something about how he was staying humble and true to his employees. You need to develop character. He speaks about RAVE, which is respect, appreciate, and value everyone. That's just something that Disney implemented. You need to train for character, not just skill. These people need to be able to be great employees and have great customer service. To live the values that you have, actions speak louder than roles, and teach the values that you have. So you also need to seek diversity in your company. You need to be able to show that you're not just saying everything's okay and you can work here. You need to be able to show it. An analysis of the book is that this book is a great quality source of information about leadership because it spoke specifically about things that we've discussed in class. Cockerell speaks about time management, which was something we talked about, how you need to use communication to be specific about the roles that people need to play. The reason I like the book is because some people, including myself, learn the best from real life examples, but he also uses different references such as Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People to show how you first need to understand in order to be understood. Some weaknesses about the book could be that at the beginning it's mostly just about the background of his career, and that can be a bit distracting, but the strengths are that the initial background is nice, but once he starts getting into his references from Disney, I believe those are his strengths because they can be applicable. I would recommend this book for an informational text. It's actually quite entertaining because I got some kind of insight to the Disney world, which is why I chose it. I've been a fan of Disney my whole life. So, thank you.